One of the most common questions regarding investing I get is this: what percentage of my portfolio should I allocate to international versus US? Should it be 10%, 30%, or 50%? What is the correct answer? And I'll tell you, unfortunately, there isn't one. You'll hear some gurus saying you don't need international at all. Some would say you need at least 40%. Some would say 20% is good enough. Well, what if I was to tell you there's an option where you don't need to answer this question at all, where this allocation will be done for you automatically, so you never have to guess the right percentage. Introducing the Vanguard Total World Stock ETF, aka VT, and its mutual fund brother, the Vanguard Total World Stock Index Fund, aka VTWAX. A single fund that not only represents the global stock market, but one that essentially eliminates this tricky decision in portfolio building: the US versus international split. So with that, let's get right into it. Let's dive deep into Vanguard Total World Stock ETF, aka VT, a fund I like to call the one fund to rule them all. But just in case you're new to the channel, my name is Tay from Financial Tortoise, where we learn to grow our wealth slow and steady. To get started, let me walk you through what VT actually is. Let's go through Vanguard Total World Stock ETF 101. Vanguard Total World Stock ETF VT launched in 2008, and its mutual fund brother, Vanguard Total World Stock Index Fund, VTWAX, launched in 2019. They both track something called the FTSE Global All Cap Index, an index that aims to capture nearly every publicly traded company on the planet, approximately 10,000 companies at the time of this video. What specific companies? Let's go a step deeper. The best way to understand what you actually own is to picture the fund from top down, from the biggest companies to the smallest ones. At the very top, VT can look a lot like an American tech fund, because right now, the largest companies in the world happen to be American tech companies. So you see companies that are very familiar to most investors: Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Amazon, and Google. If you ever owned an S&P 500 fund, the top of VT will feel like home. But keep going down that list and it starts to look interesting. Companies that make VT genuinely feel global. You find Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, or TSMC, which produces the overwhelming majority of the world's most advanced computer chips. You find ASML, a Dutch company that builds the extraordinarily complex machines that TSMC needs to make those chips in the first place. You find Nestle in Switzerland, Samsung in South Korea, Novo Nordisk in Denmark, Tencent and Alibaba in China, HDFC Bank in India, SAP in Germany, Toyota in Japan, and the list goes on. As you can see, when you own VT, you're not just getting a slice of companies from one single country like the United States. You're getting exposure to thousands of companies from all over the world. All companies that are working super hard to create value for its customers and generate profit for their shareholders. And here's an important point to understand when you own a fund like VT. VT is market capitalization weighted. What that means is that every company's size in the fund is determined by its actual size in the real world, its total market value. The bigger the company, the bigger is sliced within your fund. Apple is a multi-trillion-dollar company, so Apple is a larger piece. A small manufacturer in Switzerland is a tiny company, so it's a smaller piece. You own both, but only in proportion to what the global market says they're worth. And this scales all the way up to the country level. Right now, American companies make up somewhere around 60 to 65% of the total value of all the world's stocks. So the United States make up about 60 to 65% of VT. International markets make up the other 35 to 40%. So that's what you get today. But as mentioned earlier, because VT is market cap weighted, if the world changes, the fund will change with it. If international companies start to become a bigger share of the global stock market, then VT will adjust without you needing to do anything. The allocation will always be a mirror of the world. Alright then, how about the cost? VT charges an expense ratio of 0.06% per year, which means for every $10,000 you have invested in VT, you pay $6 a year. VTWX, the mutual fund version, the Vanguard Total World Stock Index Fund, charges slightly higher, 0.09%, which translates to $9 a year per $10,000. In my book, these are bargain costs for this level of exposure and simplicity. In summary, the Vanguard Total World Stock ETF, aka VT, is this. It's a single fund that tracks the FTSE Global All Cap Index. It holds roughly 10,000 stocks across about 50 countries, covering approximately 98% of the world's investable market. It weighs every company by its real-world size, so as the world shifts, the fund shifts with it, automatically, without you having to do anything. And it costs a bargain. $6 a year per $10,000 invested. Alright, so at this point, one of the big questions you might have is this. How is this different from a two-fund strategy? If I was to hold a total US market fund like VTI/VTSAX and pair it with an international fund like VXUS/VTIAX, am I not essentially getting the same exposure? Great question. Let's get into that next. But before we get there, let me pause here for a second. Because we're covering a lot of ground here, you might have been scrambling to take notes on the Vanguard Total World Stock ETF. Well, if so, no worries, my friend. I put it all into a free PDF so you don't have to remember it all. It's got the full breakdown, how VT works, the key takeaways, and who it's best for. The link to download is in the description below. And if you're the type who wants to go a step further and put all this into action, into building your ideal investment portfolio, that is exactly what the Financial Tortoise community is for. Inside, you'll get my full course library, custom-built tools, live Q&As, and direct access to me via one-on-one for questions specific to your situation. However, in order to ensure that all members receive the best experience possible, enrollment only opens a few times a year. So if you want to be the first to know when doors open again, join the waitlist at financialtortoise.com/community. Okay, with that, back to the video. Let's compare VT to the very popular two-fund strategy, US plus an international fund. VT, as we covered earlier, tracks the FTSE Global All Cap Index, roughly 10,000 companies across about 50 countries, US and international, large cap all the way down to small cap, all in a single fund. Well, how does this compare against the VTI plus VXUS strategy? VTI, the Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF, tracks the CRSP US Total Market Index and holds around 3,600 American companies. Again, large, mid, and small cap. That's the entire US market in one fund. Its mutual fund version is VTSAX. VXUS, the Vanguard Total International Stock ETF, tracks the FTSE Global All Cap excluding US Index and holds approximately 8,500 companies. Everything outside the United States, developed and emerging, from Japan and the UK to China, India, and Brazil. Its mutual fund version is VTIAX. Put VTI and VXUS together, and you've essentially rebuilt VT. One small caveat difference is that VTI and VXUS together actually holds more individual companies than VT does. Around 12,000 companies combined versus VT's roughly 10,000. That's because VT, to keep costs low and trading manageable, doesn't try to own every last micro-cap stock in the world. And if you're worried about this, do not worry, my friend. In practice, this makes almost no difference on returns since these tiny companies are such a small part of the stock market. But if you want to be technically correct, the two-fund version does reach a touch deeper into the world's smallest stocks. Okay then, if the exposure is basically the same, what's actually different? 3 things. The first is control, and this really is the biggest difference. With VT, the market decides your US to international split, right now about 60-40, and it adjusts that mix automatically for you. With the two-fund strategy, you get to decide the split. You could go 80% US and 20% international. You can go 50-50, whatever you like. But here's the catch. Because you chose it, you now have to maintain it. As the two funds drift apart over time, you have to rebalance them to bring them back to your target. That is the price of control. Second is tax loss harvesting, or lack of ability to do so. But this only applies in taxable accounts, not a 401k or IRA. When you hold two separate funds, sometimes one is down while the other is up. With VTI and VXUS, you can sell the loser at a loss to lower your tax bill, then immediately buy a similar fund to stay invested. With VT, everything is bundled into one fund, so there's often no loss to harvest. For most people investing inside retirement accounts, this does not matter, but if you're investing in a taxable account, this could be a nice perk of holding two pieces separately. The third difference is cost, and this one is actually quite small. VTI charges 0.03% and VXUS charges 0.05%. Blend them together in a typical 60-40 mix, and you land around 0.04%, just a hair under VT's 0.06%. On $10,000, that's the difference between paying about $4 a year versus $6. On $100,000, it's roughly $40 versus $60. To me, the variance here is so small, the cost should be the last factor to one's decision making. Alright, so at this point, we recognize that VT is essentially the same as VTI plus VXUS at a similar allocation. It is just as affordable, but instead of needing to hold two separate funds, you can be done with just one. So this fund should be one of the most popular funds in the market, right? Well, that is a good observation, but interestingly, it is not. Let's take a look at the numbers, because when we do, we'll see that it is a fund that almost nobody owns. Consider this. VTI, Vanguard's US-only total market fund, together with its mutual fund shares like VTSAX and VSMPX, holds well over $2.3 trillion in assets. It is one of the largest pools of invested money on earth. VT, the fund that owns everything VTI owns, plus the rest of the world, is only $95 billion. Quite small compared to Vanguard Total US Stock Market Index Fund. And why is this? It's actually quite straightforward. Let me share 3 reasons why. The first reason is partially a matter of age and partially just structural. VT and VTWAX are relatively young funds. VT launched in 2008 and its mutual fund version, VTWAX, didn't arrive until 2019. Compare that to something like Vanguard's S&P 500 fund, which has been around since the 1970s, or its total US market fund, which launched in the 1990s. Then there's the structural part. Most Americans build their wealth inside a 401k, and most 401k menus give you an S&P 500 fund, maybe a total US market fund, maybe a target date fund, but often no total world fund at all. So VT never even gets a chance to become your default. You have to go out of your way to find it. The second reason is due to what economists call home country bias. This probably is one of the most well-documented patterns in all of investing. Vanguard's own research found that American investors hold roughly 81% of their stock portfolio in US companies, even though the US is only about 60% of the global market. And this isn't just an American quirk. It happens all around the world. Japanese investors overweight Japan. British investors overweight Britain. Canadian investors pile into Canada. Everywhere on Earth, investors are quietly convinced that their home country is special. But third, here's what I consider actually the biggest reason why a total market fund like VT is so small compared to other funds: performance. In the past 15 years, US stocks didn't just beat international stocks, they demolished them. If you invested $10,000 in a US total market fund back in 2010, by end of 2025, you would have somewhere around $60,000. The same $10,000 put into international stocks over the exact same time period, you would have ended up with roughly half of that. For anyone who invested their money in the US stock market for the past 15 years and experiences performance, it almost feels counterproductive to invest in anything else, to add an international to the mix. But here is where it is important to take a pause and look at the broader history. Because when we stretch our timeline beyond the past 15 years, we find that things can look quite different. Let's look at some notable examples of how history doesn't respect permanent winners. Starting with the one that most people know, Japan. At the end of 1989, Japan had the largest stock market in the world. Japanese companies had spent 2 decades conquering global industries: cars, electronics, banking. The Nikkei, Japan's version of the S&P 500, had climbed to nearly 40,000. Japanese firms had so much cash, they were buying up American trophies like the Rockefeller Center and the Pebble Beach Golf Course. And then it ended. After Nikkei's peak in 1989, it fell and kept falling well into 2000s. It bottomed roughly 80% below where it started. But what was worse was how long it took for it to recover. A Japanese investor who put their money in at that 1989 peak had to wait 35 years for it to climb back to its original peak. But Japan isn't the only case. Rewind to year 1899. The largest, the most dominant stock market in the world at that point was the British. At the turn of the 20th century, the London Stock Exchange represented around a quarter of the entire world's stock market value, nearly double the size of the United States at the time. Britain ruled a global empire, the pound was the world's reserve currency, and London was the financial capital of the world. If you're an investor in 1899, betting on Britain seemed like a smart choice. But we all know how that story turned out. Over the following decades, the United States overtook Britain, and Britain's share of the global market shrank and never recovered. And this pattern isn't just limited to stock markets. It shows up in entire economies. Consider Argentina. Today, we think of Argentina as a country of chronic financial crisis. But in 1913, Argentina was one of the 10 richest nations on earth. Its income per person was higher than France's, higher than Germany's, and nearly on par with Canada's. Buenos Aires was so grand that they built an opera house to rival Europe's finest. A century later, Argentina's income per person is closer to that of Mexico or Turkey. It has defaulted on its debts again and again. The country that once stood shoulder to shoulder with the wealthiest nations in the world simply fell out of that club. Now, none of this is a prediction that the US is also going to fall. American companies remain the biggest, most liquid, most innovative collection of businesses on the planet, and I hold plenty of conviction in that. But the truth is that none of us have a crystal ball to know what the future holds. And that is exactly why a fund like VT earns its keep. Because VT is not a bet that America will fall, and it isn't a bet that another country will finally have its day. It is the one fund that keeps you from needing to make a bet at all. Because regardless of which country or countries dominate over the next 30 years, when you own VT, you're automatically participating in their growth. So in conclusion, who is VT great for? More than any other type of investor, VT is for the person who simply does not want to spend the rest of their life making decisions between the US and international, or any specific country for that matter. Because here's the brutal truth about investing. The single biggest threat to your return often is not the market. It is you. It is the temptation to tinker. The moment you split your portfolio into a US fund and an international fund, you have a responsibility. You have to answer this question every year. How much international should I hold? 20%? 40%? International has lagged for 3 years now. Should I cut it? The US looks expensive. Should I trim it? Everyone's piling into emerging markets. Am I missing out? Every one of those questions could be an invitation to make a mistake. And there is data to support this. Morningstar has found that investors in international funds tend to underperform the very funds they own by more than a full percentage point a year. And for a simple reason. They lose patience at the bottom and get greedy at the top. They sell what's been lagging right before it turns and buy what's been winning right before it cools. Bottom line, VT quietly removes that entire decision. There's no international slice to second guess because there is no separate slice at all. There is just a world. In one ticker, rebalancing itself automatically. The fund protects you from your worst self by design. Thank you guys for watching, and while we're on the topic of US versus international, if you want to learn more about VT's bigger cousin, the Vanguard Total US Stock Market Index Fund, aka VTSAX/VTI, please check out my video here. Until next time, all the best.